Welcome to the Planetious Leaders Walk the Talk. I'm Rohit Korak, the founder of the Planetious Leaders series, where we celebrate the inspiring leaders who are driving the positive change towards a more sustainable future. Today, we have with us Mr. Karunakar Avuram, who is having the years of experience in sustainability, climate change, and energy efficiency. He is certified energy auditor from the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Government of India, and a qualified greenhouse gas lead assessor. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's engage in thoughtful conversation. So, Mr. Karunakar, your background is in electrical engineering, and we have gone through the profile, and you have been into the sustainability. So, how you transition into the career into the sustainability, and what inspired you to shift, and how your engineering skills and knowledge is contributing to your work?
Yeah, it's both by choice and by chance. So actually, I studied 3 years of diploma in electrical and electronics engineering, and then 4 years of engineering degree in the same. So I passed out in 2005. In fact, at that point of time, software was booming. And most of my friends, they chose software as their career, and some of them went abroad for their higher studies. I also tried to get into software, but somehow I was not selected by the IT companies. Rather, I was selected by core companies. And I got two offers, one from a transform manufacturing company and other from a semiconductor and power electronics related company. But I could not join both of them. So because they wanted me to sign a bond. One asked for 5 years and another asked for 3 years. So I was not ready to sign any bond. So I could not join those organizations. I waited for some more time, and then I got an opportunity at CIA Green Business Center for energy efficient studies. So I joined as energy auditor there. So that's where my career began in this field of energy efficiency and sustainability.
Okay. Great. Yeah. So can you share your key insights and learnings you have gained from conducting the energy and emissions assessments across the various industries and projects?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I started my career as energy auditor, and I had an opportunity to travel length and breadth of company, visiting multiple companies from various industrial sectors. And of course, I worked more on cement sector because CI took as a kind of challenge to promote Indian cement sector, because cement being one of the most energy intensive sector, and CI wanted to develop Indian cement industry as world class. And today, some of the Indian cement plants are operating with world class in terms of energy efficiency numbers, both in terms of electrical and thermal energy numbers. So there are several learnings, both from a technical and non-technical as well. So technical, whatever I have learned in engineering, not all, but some of the basics could be applied while conducting energy audits. And we would often go as a team of electrical, mechanical, and process engineers, and we are like young engineers. And of course, the objective was to identify energy saving potential in a manufacturing facility. But the moment you go and identify any energy saving potential, there will be some resistance from the plant team, because they won't accept immediately. They kind of look at some external is coming and identify some opportunity. They take it another way, they look at it as a fault finding exercise. But we would clearly communicate this is not a fault finding exercise. This is basically to identify an opportunity. So sometimes, because not everybody have same temperament, so some would accept immediately, but some would argue, some would defend that it's not possible to implement. But what we believe, what we learned and believe to CI is that once you are technically convinced that there is a saving potential, you should not give up. You have to convince the client, yes, that's a potential. Whether they implement or not, that's a second thing. There are several other factors to look into. But at least in terms of potential, yes, there is a saving potential. So we take up measures to implement. So that's what we aimed at CI. Yes, I'm really fortunate to begin my career with CI, which helped me to gain knowledge in technical as well as non-technical aspects.
Okay, okay, amazing. So like in your previous role in Godrej, like consumer products, like you were responsible for identifying and implementing sustainability initiative like across their manufacturing facilities. So can you share some of the most like impactful projects and solutions you were able to deliver in the areas of the energy efficiency?
Yeah. So before I joined Godrej, I worked with another company. I was with CIA Green Business Center for 4.5 years into energy auditing. Then I moved from there to climate change. I joined with a German-based company into climate change projects assessment. So where I had an opportunity to travel multiple countries because all my projects were outside India. I a lot of biogas projects besides biogas, wind and solar, and even some cookstove projects in Africa. So I was there for another 4.5 years. From there, I joined with Godrej in 2015. So I was leading the function for consumer products business. So there, my role was a little broad because since I was leading the function, so there were certain priorities in Godrej. One is Godrej took certain targets in 2010 itself to achieve by 2020 in terms of improving energy efficiency, increasing renewable energy, achieving carbon neutrality, water positive, zero waste to landfill. So that was one area of working with the manufacturing facilities to achieve these targets. Apart from that, because Godrej Consumer Products being an FMCG company, so there was a greater focus on sustainable packaging as well, circular economy, sustainable packaging. So that's where we started conducting life cycle assessment of products, and we also took up some waste management projects, community-based waste management projects, more from to manage plastic waste effectively, and also to demonstrate that zero waste to landfill would be possible. So we worked with a few municipal corporations to implement projects on pilot basis. We worked with Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, Kalyan Dombivli, and also Pondicherry Municipal Corporation. Then I was also working on few community-related projects, because Godrej believed in shared value and in line with our vision of achieving carbon neutrality, water positive. So we took up some projects on community waste management, rural electrification, and watershed management program. So this, in order to achieve water positive at Godrej, we followed two-pronged approach. One, to reduce water consumption within the operations by improving process, by modifications, by technological interventions. But to become positive, we needed to implement some projects beyond the fence. So that's where we collaborate with NABARD to implement a watershed management program. So that program helped Godrej becoming water positive.
Okay.
So yeah, and of course, one side the implementation of measures, the other side is the disclosures. Typically, most of the sustainable provisions currently are like focusing on disclosures, but I was looking after both implementation as well as disclosure. So we were publishing sustainable report, and later we switched over to integrated reporting framework, then disclosing on CDP, DJSI.
Yeah. Okay. So while like assessing the like various carbon mitigation projects like such as wind power, solar PV, and roof cook stoves. So what are some of the key learning or challenges you encountered in like evaluating the sustainability and eliminate the impact of the these diverse projects?
So personally, I didn't face any challenges, but certainly there are learnings. So one, as I mentioned, I had an opportunity to travel to multiple countries. So that from a non-technical point of view, to understand the culture and meeting with various people. And technically also, like I worked on multiple biogas projects because these projects were in Thailand, because earlier. So again, I mean, the reason to work on these projects is basically now the CDM, Clean Development Mechanism, was active during that period, because as part of the Kyoto Protocol commitment between 2008 to 2012, there was a target of reducing carbon emissions. So during that period till 2015, the CDM market was very active and many projects were implemented. And I would say that's one of the best mechanisms, and that helped India and several developing countries basically to grow in renewable energy sector. And CDM helped. Because of CDM, many wind power projects have come into India in western part of India and also in southern part of India. Many wind power projects have come up mainly because of CDM. Because without CDM, the payback for wind projects is really poor. The IRR was very poor, and these CDM benefits have helped them implementing these projects. Solar was also like that, but now, fortunately, later the price of solar panels have come down. Even without CDM benefits, the IRR is attractive. That's why we see a significant progress in terms of renewable energy in India.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, what are your thoughts on importance of integrating the environmental, social, and governance consideration into the business decisions and the operations of the business?
Yeah. So these ESG, now we are hearing the term ESG of late in the last few years. But if you look at any of the established companies, India and outside, these practices are there. I mean, several companies are environmental conscious, because Godrej itself, they took a targets of on environment social in 2010 itself. The first phase of targets were to be achieved by 2020. Because some of the established companies, like if you take India, like Tata, Mahindra, Godrej, many of the companies, they've understood. Not just making profits alone would make a business sustainable, but we also need to take care of the stakeholders and also the environment. These are two important aspects. So they have been working in this space, but now with the increased focus on these ESG aspects, several frameworks have also come into place. For example, start with the GRI-based sustainability reporting. Because that brings a uniform structure, because that helps companies on what to report, to what to disclose, and where to focus. Obviously, there would always be some opportunities, some gaps. So these kind of frameworks would help companies to identify those gaps and then take measures to improve the performance. So, and definitely this is improving, and now we see the mandatory aspects from SEBI also. SEBI mandates top 1,000 companies to disclose their sustainability performance in the form of BRSR. So this is one aspect, is there are increased regulatory pressures on companies to be transparent. Not only you take measures, but you also be transparent in disclosing your performance. The other is there is an increased investor pressure. Also, a lot of institutional investors are also behind the companies to improve their performance on social and environmental aspects. To some level of maturity, the companies have achieved, and with these frameworks, that's helping companies to progress. But one clear way forward is not just the sustainability or ESG performance of companies, but their value chain also. Especially all established companies, they need to depend on many small suppliers.
Right.
That's why there's that's a big an area of risk for many companies. So now the focus is slightly shifted. Of course, those who have achieved certain level of maturity on their own operations now are focusing on improving value chain sustainability. But still a big gray area. But clearly that's an area of focus. Because that's when, because if you are a customer, then you can have influence on your supplier. Now, of course, the SEBI is also asking to influence your customers also. But influencing customers is bit tough rather than influencing your suppliers.
Right. Yeah.
Because the customer can have a say on your suppliers, but not on your customers.
Yeah.
So this is one area. The other is, especially with these increased disclosures, the database is also an issue. Now, India is such a large company. We have many industries, very well established industries, and there are a good number of research firms, academic institutions. And unfortunately, we do not have data sets to report on these environment parameters. We have to depend, as on today, we are depending on the US-based EPA data factors and the UK-based data factors. I think there's a time for India to have its own data sets, especially for environmental indicators.
Okay. So what do you think, is India, in India, it's still, we are lagging in the data points, and what are the, what is the future in this, and because we are growing economy, and how you see the future in this, and
So definitely, I think the digital technologies are going to play a key role in this data-related aspects, and we see an increased penetration of these data platforms clearly. Because when I was working with Godrej, especially till 2018, there were just one or two established data management platforms, but now we see a handful of such platforms. Especially with the BRSR, now companies have recognized no longer an Excel-based data management will work. So we need to have an established platform to monitor, to track the performance, and to collect the data on a monthly basis, and have the required backup in place so that the same can be verified and assured. So these data platforms will certainly play a role in gathering the data. I think that will also help, because even to develop data sets, you need to have appropriate data. Without appropriate data, because of course you can still use, but the problem with Excel is there will be somewhere or the other the manual interventions, and we others are witnessing wherever there's a manual intervention, we are prone to do mistakes. And rectifying that, verifying that, it's really challenging, especially if a company has say 10-12 plants and each plant reporting on multiple parameters. So verifying and rectifying if something goes wrong in the data is a bit challenge. With the help of these data monitoring platforms, that would relatively be easy, and because they also provide certain analytics, especially when there's a variation in data, you can also set alerts that will indicate in this month once a parameter has gone up or has gone less, so that whoever is monitoring or coordinating can look at that and have a meaningful discussion with the stakeholders.
Okay. So can you share any specific examples or case studies where your work has a tangible impact on the lives of the people and either through environmental conservation, social development, or climate change mitigation efforts?
There are several, and I always believe in both. You take any measure, so that for example, if you are taking some initiative from the point of environmental sustainability, I believe it should result in both environmental benefits and also financial benefits. Now, many speak for the sake of speaking, but ultimately, when it comes to implementation, the financials come into picture. Because you might get some relaxation in terms of payback. If a company has for typically non-environment related project, they may look at 2 years payback. With environmental benefits, they may look at 3 years. But obviously, you need to have certain payback period for any projects. So I always consider this factor. So, for example, some of the projects, I think one of the very first projects that I took up was getting a renewable PPA signed for one of the largest facility. It was the largest facility for Godrej Consumer Products. Uh, so that helped the plant to meet 40% of their electrical power from the solar based energy. So that's a clear environmental benefit. But the financial benefit was we were able to get at 20% less than the grid tariff. So there was a financial benefit also for the company. And similarly, took up several rooftop solar projects also. Even with the rooftop solar also, and we were able to get, and all of these projects were implemented on OPEX model. So there was no upfront implement from Godrej side. But on the other hand, there were recurring financial benefits also because the tariff was lesser than the prevailing grid tariff. So there are two benefits, environmental and financial benefits. So even on social aspects, so there may not be direct benefits, but there are intangible benefits because improved stakeholder relations. For example, when we implemented watershed projects in Telangana, so we could clearly see a social impact because the groundwater table has gone up, and we received a feedback from a couple of farmers. The land which they earlier left barren because of non-availability of water, they started cultivating it. So that's one clear indication of positive impact of these projects on community. And also when we implemented waste management project in Pondicherry, so one of the first things was to formalize the waste workers, to have some sort of an ID for them and then register them for Prime Minister Health Insurance Scheme. So we looked at both the environmental and social benefits through various programs.
Right. Okay. So moving forward, like what are your long-term aspirations and goals in sustainability field, and how do you envision like collaborating with the planet's leaders, like organizations, to amplify the voices of the sustainability leaders?
I do not have any personal ambitions, but the only ambition is that we all have this sense of being sustainable, because sustainability is not just only with companies, with all of us, because now we are clearly seeing the impacts of climate change. With increased greenhouse gases, the global temperatures have gone up, and we've never heard about 52 degrees of centigrade, and this summer we witnessed 52 degrees centigrade. Everybody is affected, not just companies, but all of us are, as an individual, are affected by the climate change. I think we all need to have this sustainable thinking. The way we, of course, we're not saying that you need to compromise on your comfort factors. It was used, but we need to be judicious, because one of the definitions of sustainability is it's a development that meets of the present generation without affecting the future generation to meet their own needs. So this is one of the well-accepted definitions. So the thing is, we're not saying you compromise on your needs. Take care of your needs, but ensure that you leave something to future generations also. I always give this example. So it's like you have 1 million rupees in your bank. Right, and the bank generates, say a bank gives an interest of say 10,000 rupees a month, and since that's the only asset you have, you start withdrawing the interest of 10,000 rupees. As long as you maintain this balance, your principal amount will remain same in the bank, which you can pass on to next generation. But instead of withdrawing 10,000 rupees, if you start withdrawing 20,000 rupees, so gradually you will eat up your principal amount also, and you will have nothing to leave it to next generation. And that's what is currently happening with the nature, because all of our resources, be it water, be it energy, be it material, everything comes from the nature, and nature has got certain fixed capacity. It has got a replenishing capacity. That's the great gift that we have from the nature. But now what's happening is the human consumption has increased so significantly that we are taking more than the Earth's biocapacity. That means whatever the Earth can reproduce in 1 year of time, we are consuming in just 7 months of time. And that's a big gap. That's a big gap. So we all need to be cautious about this, and we have to be judicious in using the resources. So resource efficiency will play a vital role, not just for the companies, but we as individuals need to be responsible.
Right. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Mr. Karunakar, thank you for joining us, and so it was a very insightful conversation like we had.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
My pleasure. Thank
yeah,
you.
thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks, Rohit. All the
Okay, yeah,
best.
thank
Yeah.
you. Bye.
Bye.